My girlfriend was the one who tormented my sister in high school until she developed depression, I discovered when I took her to meet my family. At that moment, my sister had a panic episode and she laughed. She claims that she has changed, but my family is pleading with me to break up with her. I am a 31-year-old man who earns about $190,000 a year as a senior financial analyst at a large investment business. I've been working hard for years to reach this point. I was raised in a small industrial town in the lower middle class, with a factory that closed when I was 16 serving as my primary employer. I put myself through college by working 2 jobs, taking out large student debts that I just paid off last year, and doing campus maintenance during the day and dishwashing at night. People talk about the bootstrap battle, but they don't truly grasp it unless they've been through it themselves. Because we started from nothing and remained united through all of life's challenges, my family is the most important thing in the world to me. My parents sacrificed everything to offer their children opportunities they never had, even though they never earned more than $35,000 in a single year. I've been dating a 27-year-old woman named Madison for roughly 10 months. She makes $45,000 as a social media coordinator at a hip company, but she presents herself as the head of Fortune 500 marketing campaigns and is transforming the world one Instagram post at a time. She talks about brand synergy and influencer partnerships all the time, as if she were a marketing whiz. She drives a brand new BMW that is unquestionably much over her true salary level. And she lives in this absurdly expensive luxury apartment in the heart of the city that costs more than my mortgage payment, $3,200 per month for a 1-bedroom. The apartment features a doorman, floor-to-ceiling windows, and marble countertops. Totally ridiculous for someone earning her money. Lately, I've been paying for a large amount of her living expenditures. Upscale meals at restaurants when the entree is more expensive than the average person's weekly grocery bill. Wine country weekend getaways that cost more than $2,000. Excursions that would cause a famous person to blush. She orders $300 bottles of wine, $1,500 purses, and $800 dinners like it's water. She constantly comes up with some well-crafted excuse, such as waiting for her big promotion, which is undoubtedly coming next quarter, or temporary cash flow problems. Babe frequently claims that her startup is going popular and that she will be earning 6 figures in a matter of months. My dad celebrated his 60th birthday last weekend. Large family get-together at my parents' house. They still reside in the same small 3-bedroom ranch where they brought up their 3 children on a combined blue-collar salary that was insufficient to support their basic needs. Every Sunday, my mom spent hours cutting coupons at this place, where McDonald's was a great treat and we shopped in secondhand stores. The same home where my father paid for our college applications by working double shifts at the plant. In order to feed 5 people, my mom stretched hamburger meat with breadcrumbs. They still have the same furniture that they purchased 20 years ago. Sturdy and useful, but unquestionably unfashionable. Give me everything. Couches covered with blankets to conceal the worn and mismatched dishes. However, it's home and stands for all that is admirable about putting in a lot of effort and maintaining your modesty. After 10 months together, it seemed only fitting that Madison be invited so she could properly meet everyone and learn about my background. She demanded that I spend $3,000 of my hard-earned money on a designer dress for the event, saying she had an urgent need to represent you well in front of everyone who cares and make a good impression on your family. The dress was more expensive than my parents' combined clothing expenditures over the previous 2 years. Emma, my 24-year-old younger sister, was traveling 3 hours from her graduate school to attend her father's party. Emma has always been a reserved, very industrious person who keeps her social circle small but significant and enjoys reading more than parties. The type of individual who enjoys reading research papers and is able to debate intricate psychological ideas in the same way that others discuss the weather. Had a difficult high school experience that left them with lifelong scars, but they managed to emerge stronger, more driven, and fiercely independent. On a full academic scholarship, she is presently working toward a PhD in clinical psychology at a prestigious university with an emphasis on adolescent trauma rehabilitation. A truly exceptional young lady who is undoubtedly making significant progress in her life. Her research is consistently praised by her lecturers. As a graduate student, she has already published 2 articles, and is giving presentations at national conferences. Madison's exact opposite in every way imaginable. Emma's natural talent and unwavering hard work earned her every opportunity. Studying until 2 in the morning. Most evenings, volunteering at crisis centers, and working as a research assistant. Emma has achieved success via knowledge and sheer willpower, whereas Madison expects everything to be given to her. We enter my parents' small living room at roughly 6 o'clock that night. The same room that has been there since elementary school, complete with a soiled carpet and mismatched furnishings. My mom and Emma are carefully arranging handmade food on the assortment of mismatched plates and serving utensils that have been in our family for decades in the little kitchen. Emma looks at Madison and gets completely white as a sheet when they both turn around to greet us at the same time. She simply stops there as if she's run across a horrible ghost from her past. Stared at Madison with a face that combined astonishment, utter dread, and something that appeared to be nausea. Madison instantly picks up on the response and bursts into laughter. Not apprehensive in social situations or uncomfortable when laughing. Sincere, brutal amusement, as if she were witnessing a fun show for her own entertainment. Emma can easily hear every word she says as she bends over to me and whispers, "Is it the sister you frequently discuss?" She looks just how I thought she would, wow. She seemed to be making a scathing remark about a zoo display rather than meeting my dear sister, and the tone was extremely condescending and purposefully cruel. Without saying anything, Emma dashes upstairs after dropping the porcelain plate she was carrying, sending glass and food splintering all over the linoleum kitchen floor. I stand there absolutely shocked and confused while Madison shrugs carelessly as if nothing important had happened. My mom throws Madison this look that could literally freeze hell over, and then promptly follows Emma up the narrow stairs. With a sickeningly sweet tone that made my skin crawl with disgust, Madison carefully walks over the broken glass that is all over the floor and begins asking my dad about our incredibly cute small house. It was as if she were politely viewing some charming historical museum exhibit rather than meeting the family of someone she professed to love. And every remark was laced with hardly disguised contempt. After 20 long, awkward minutes, my mom pulls me aside into the small corridor and returns downstairs, looking truly shaken, when she told me that Emma had locked herself in the small upstairs bathroom and was experiencing a full-blown panic attack, hyperventilating, sobbing hysterically, the whole thing. Her voice was really shaking. My mother made a face I had never seen before, staring me in the eyes. The heartbreaking reality eventually surfaced when he said, "Son, I really don't think you understand who Madison actually is to our family." Emma and Madison had gone to the same prestigious private high school. Madison was in a whole different socioeconomic class and 2 years older. Apparently, Madison was the undisputed queen bee who, for almost 2 academic years, made Emma's everyday existence a living hell. We made fun of her clothing because, unlike the other kids, our family couldn't afford fancy labels, conveying nasty rumors that she was merely a student on a charitable scholarship who didn't belong with respectable people. She was methodically barred from all study sessions, social groups, and extracurricular activities. Emma was too humiliated, embarrassed, and certain that it was somehow her fault to ever tell me any of the particular, horrible details at the time. All I knew at the time was that she became incredibly withdrawn from everything she used to enjoy, needed a lot of treatment, and started dreading going to school every morning. I foolishly thought it was just the typical adolescent adjustment issues that everyone has. The worst part is that Madison has been giving me intricate, in-depth stories about how she was allegedly teased and shunned in high school because she was too attractive, too accomplished, and too self-assured for the envious losers. She has been doing this for the entire past 10 months. She portrayed herself as the helpless victim of jealous peers who were unable to deal with her inherent superiority. The whole thing was a complete and utter lie, intended to elicit compassion and make me protective of her. Madison didn't even try to deny anything when I finally confronted her in the car during our anxious, silent trip home. "Oh, that Emma. Yeah, I remember her now," barely said, with casual indifference. "You see, in high school, everyone was competitive. That's the nature of exclusive schools. Sincerely, I'm not to blame for her inability to cope with typical social pressure and competitive dynamics. Couldn't manage it. being routinely insulted and psychologically tormented by a pampered, wealthy girl who sincerely thought she was better than everyone else was too much for my intelligent, sensitive sister to bear. Following the total catastrophe at my parents' place, I made the decision that I had to know exactly what kind of person I was dealing with. I called my friend Jake, who was a few years ahead of Emma and Madison at the same prestigious private school. His recollection of Madison was vivid and incredibly unsettling. She was infamous throughout the entire school community, dude. Possessed a close-knit group of extremely affluent, cruel, and malicious girls who would routinely target anyone they thought was beneath their high social standing. There were other victims besides your sister. They caused long-lasting harm and psychologically ruined a number of vulnerable girls over the years. However, Madison was clearly the worst of them all due to her strategic and well-thought-out brutality. Never encountered any formal issues as a result of her father's large annual donations to the school endowment. It turns out that her father owns 3 extremely profitable luxury automobile businesses located around the state. Throughout her entire affluent, protected life, Madison was given everything she could possibly want on a silver platter and never once had to deal with any real repercussions for her behavior. She was idly preparing for weekend brunch with her equally vacuous companions when I confronted her the following day. The kind of women who, while wearing yet another outrageously costly designer clothing item that I had fully funded, spend 3 hours getting ready to post pictures of their avocado toast on Instagram. Of course, a $400 blouse, $600 shoes, and jewelry that exceeds the rent for most individuals. In our innumerable chats about our families and pasts over the course of our 10-month relationship, I asked her clearly and specifically why she never once acknowledged knowing Emma. Because nobody cares about it anymore, because it is ancient history. Good grief, you're overreacting to some ridiculous social dynamics from high school that occurred years ago. Emma's strangeness, awkwardness, and antisociality were constant. In any case, we made an effort to involve her in social gatherings and activities, but she simply did not mesh well with our group. More focused on how she looked than the conversation. She remarked this as she looked at her reflection in the phone's camera. Made an effort to involve her. My mom had meticulously preserved Emma's old journal entries from that awful time in safekeeping, and I showed Madison a few of those pages. Terrible details of Madison's workers calling them scholarship trash and charity cases every day. How, in crowded halls, they would purposefully knock books out of her hands. She is routinely left out of group tasks, even when teachers have given them to her. Every single horrible day, make sure she has to eat lunch by herself. Tales of being purposefully excluded from all social gatherings and study groups, of girls pursuing her to the restroom to harass her further, and of having her backpack abandoned in the hallway. Madison gave the journal pages a fleeting glance before waving her manicured palm away from them completely. I don't recall any of it happening like that at all. Emma constantly played the victim and exaggerated things to get attention. Being around wealthy, self-assured women who aren't ashamed of their true value is simply too much for some people. As she said this, she literally rolled her eyes, as if Emma's suffering were a bother to her. My temper completely exploded, and I began screaming that she had been deceiving me for months. How I had been providing financial assistance to a person who had spent years torturing my innocent younger sister psychologically. The casual brutality of her remark was mind-blowing. Regarding this matter, you are being utterly absurd and exaggerated. You earn a great living from your job. So, really, what's the big deal about using some of it for me? The investment in our future together is well worth it because of me. Furthermore, you may not be as emotionally developed as I initially believed you to be if you are unable to distinguish between our current connection and old history. Well worth the money. For example, I am only her own financial service created especially to support her luxurious lifestyle perpetually. She then uttered something that, in full, terrible clarity, revealed her true nature to me. It's likely that diversity quotas were the only reason Emma was accepted into that PhD program. In any case, she ought to be sincerely appreciative of me for fortifying her and preparing her for the realities of the real world. I informed her that we were done for good and all. You'll definitely be back within a week, maybe sooner, she remarked, laughing with real amusement. You're very fortunate to have me in your life. Women of my quality and experience don't remain unmarried for long. The sheer bluster was breathtaking and enraged. This woman has been consistently living off my hard-earned money while treating my family like total trash, and she honestly thinks I'm the lucky one in this relationship dynamic. Exactly 1 week has passed since I ended my relationship with Madison. I foolishly believed that blocking her number and all social media accounts would be enough to make her go away, but I was utterly wrong. She arrived at my apartment complex on Monday at precisely 6 a.m., somehow evading building security through some unidentified means, and began frantically beating on my door and yelling at the top of her lungs about how I owe her and that I can't just throw away everything we created together as if it meant nothing at all. She attempted to push past me into my private apartment when I opened the door specifically to tell her to leave right away. I firmly blocked her path, and she started crying right away, clearly. Fake tears with her makeup still intact, saying that she couldn't possibly afford her expensive rent without my ongoing financial support, and that I was completely abandoning her after she had spent her best years dating me. We dated for exactly 10 months. I laughed right in her entitled face and firmly closed the door after she stood outside yelling threats and expletives for 20 minutes until building security physically removed her from the property. She actually had the audacity to hand me a professionally typed, itemized spreadsheet of expenses she believes I should continue covering indefinitely: monthly rent, car payment, credit card minimum payments, shopping allowances, dining budgets, and entertainment expenses. The total came to exactly $8,400 for the next 3 months, because that's how long it'll take her to find someone else at my particular financial level. You ruined my entire life. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. Pay me what you legitimately owe me, or I'll systematically destroy your reputation everywhere. Then the relentless text message campaign began right away. It wasn't from her block number, and she was obviously using different phones that were likely borrowed from sympathetic friends. The messages alternated between pathetic begging and increasingly direct threats. The conversation revealed some very interesting and illuminating information about Madison's well-established patterns. And her mother was genuinely apologetic, but completely unsurprised by everything I described in detail. It turns out that Madison has systematically burned through several long-term relationships with financially successful men over the past few years, and that each one always ends exactly the same predictable way. I made the decision to get in touch with her parents directly to see if they could somehow control their daughter's increasingly erratic behavior. We stopped supporting Madison's behavior financially a few years ago, but she just finds other people to support her lifestyle instead. She specifically targets successful men because she genuinely believes she deserves their money without contributing anything meaningful herself. She demands ongoing financial support after breakups, claims she was wronged and abandoned, and plays victim to anyone who will listen to her carefully crafted sob stories. Her dad was much more direct and honest about Madison's basic character. Madison had somehow found her university social media accounts and sent her a lengthy, purposefully cruel message, and Emma called me yesterday evening completely shaken up and terrified. They offered to talk to her about the harassment, but warned me that she doesn't respond well to being cut off from financial resources and that she becomes increasingly desperate and vindictive when her lifestyle is threatened in any way. That warning proved to be entirely prophetic. This woman is now harassing my vulnerable sister again after everything she put her through during those traumatic years. Madison's systematic harassment campaign escalated dramatically over the following week into something truly concerning and bordering on stalking behavior. Your pathetic brother ruined my life because you're still bitter about some insignificant high school social dynamics. Grow up and stop ruining relationships with your ridiculous victim complex. She made a lot of effort to deceive me by creating numerous elaborate fake social media profiles with stolen photos to contact my friends and coworkers, spreading malicious claims that I am emotionally abusive and abandoned her when she needed me most. She even made fake dating app accounts using my photos, sending inappropriate and crude messages to women to harm my reputation, all of which included multiple photos and detailed backstories. She somehow got into my corporate office building downtown on Tuesday afternoon, convinced the receptionist at the front desk that she was my girlfriend, brought a surprise lunch as a romantic gesture, even brought flowers, and wore an outfit that looked like it belonged to a wholesome girlfriend. When I came downstairs completely unprepared, She made a huge embarrassing scene in our professional corporate lobby, crying uncontrollably and pleading with me to make things work out, making everyone feel very uncomfortable. Madison had apparently called our main office number earlier that morning, claiming to be doing a reference check for a potential employer considering me for a position. And she was practically shouting about our relationship problems in front of my coworkers, clients, and business partners. She screamed that I was ruining an innocent woman's life over nothing, loud enough for half the building to hear, before building security had to physically escort her out. Later that afternoon, my supervisor pulled me aside with obvious concern written all over his face. The last straw came Thursday evening when she began asking odd, probing questions about my character, dependability, financial management abilities, and whether I had any personal issues that might affect my work performance. Her questions were in a professional tone, but they were obviously meant to elicit any compromising information that she might use against me later. She even inquired about the stability of my relationship and whether I had ever experienced problems controlling my anger. Concerned about Emma's mental stability and whether she was psychologically fit for graduate study, she called Emma's PhD advisor directly, posing as a worried family friend. Emma was devastated when her advisor brought up this alarming call from someone claiming to know our family, but the advisor didn't take it seriously because Emma's academic record speaks for itself. What most people don't realize about working in finance is that we're essentially professional investigators with advanced training. I analyze companies on a daily basis, research complex backgrounds, go through financial records, and look for patterns and inconsistencies. Madison, however, had obviously done a lot of research beforehand and knew the advisor's full name, specific program details, and Emma's research focus areas. This was no longer random harassment. Rather, it was calculated psychological warfare intended to destroy my sister's academic future. I spent the entire weekend researching Madison's true circumstances behind the facade, using specialized databases, professional networks, and research tools that most people aren't even aware exist. I found out that she was expelled from her first college for serious academic dishonesty and was caught paying someone to write multiple papers. I also found out that Madison had a financial background that is legally accessible through professional channels, employment records, and social media history dating back years. After 6 years of struggling, she barely graduated with a 2.88 GPA. She has also been lying about her current job situation, which is that she is an entry-level marketing assistant earning exactly $28,000 a year rather than a social media coordinator earning $45,000. Her father co-signed the lease for her luxurious downtown apartment, and he has been paying 70% of her monthly expenses for years. The pristine BMW lease agreement is entirely in her father's name, with him making all payments. The most shocking revelation is that this woman has never been financially independent in her adult life. She currently owes $47,000 in credit card debt from 6 different banks, and the shopping sprees I've been funding weren't just frivolous purchases. They were desperate attempts to maintain a lifestyle that she simply cannot afford on her own. I discovered screenshots of her bragging about making other girls cry, calling classmates losers and poor trash, and organizing systematic boycotts against girls she didn't like. She literally documented her own cruelty and left the evidence online for years. I discreetly organized everything into a comprehensive file. Bank statements showed exactly how much I've spent supporting her lifestyle, $23,847 over 10 months. Screenshots of every harassing message she sent. Complete documentation of her lies about employment, income, and personal history. And the real gold mine was her old high school social media accounts. Madison's most serious and devastating error was to decide to target my professional life directly and aggressively the following week. She made a sophisticated fake LinkedIn profile, using stolen photos, and began sending me similar, carefully crafted messages to people throughout my professional network, claiming to be a former client with serious concerns about my work ethics and personal judgment. She also dropped strategic hints about personal issues that affected my performance at work and concerning behavior patterns that clients should be aware of. In the surprisingly small and closely knit finance industry, word spreads quickly, especially bad news that could ruin someone's career. Although my supervisor and coworkers know me well enough to brush off obvious nonsense, it still caused some people to doubt me. In the finance industry, professional reputation is crucial for career advancement, client relationships, earning potential, and industry standing. Therefore, I decided to repay her by showing her what professional destruction looks like when done right. I started by compiling all of my research on Madison into a thorough professional dossier, which included financial deception, employment lies, a history of documented harassment and psychological abuse, and proof of her systematic attempts to manipulate my professional contacts and harm my reputation. Madison's company has strict social media policies and professional ethics requirements that are spelled out in their employee handbook. She was fired Friday morning for multiple policy violations. But I wasn't done with my response. Her credit card situation. Her fake LinkedIn profile reported to LinkedIn with comprehensive evidence it was being used for targeted harassment, and her legitimate LinkedIn account flagged for suspicious activity and policy violations. It turns out that using fake profiles to harass someone's business contacts and making false claims about their professional character constitutes serious grounds for immediate termination. I sent their HR department a detailed report with timestamps, screenshots, and complete documentation of her behavior patterns over time. Her luxury apartment situation contacted the landlord with documentation demonstrating she had been lying about her income and employment status on lease applications for years. And I looked into her application history and found she had been lying about her income consistently for years to get higher limits. I reported the fraud to all 6 credit card companies with thorough documentation, and they are currently conducting investigations that could lead to serious criminal charges. It turns out that giving false financial information is grounds for immediate lease termination. I also used her social media history to locate 3 other men she had previously targeted. Once I knew what patterns to look for, it wasn't hard to find them. And it turned out that they had all gone through almost the same experiences with Madison: financial manipulation, harassment following breakups, and attempts to harm their reputations. We compared notes and found that she has been operating the same scheme for more than 5 years, methodically targeting successful men for financial exploitation. This is where karma really delivered the perfect blow. Her father learned of her most recent behavior when one of her former targets contacted him directly with proof of her harassment campaigns. One of them had even taken legal action against her for harassment and had detailed documentation of her behavior patterns. It appears that he has been coping with Madison's relationship issues and financial crisis for years until he finally lost it. He immediately cut off all of her family accounts and her financial support. And by Sunday night, Madison had lost her job. Her apartment lease had been terminated. Her credit cards were frozen while fraud investigations were being conducted. And her father had completely removed her financial safety net. Madison lost her luxury apartment Thursday morning, and the landlord moved extremely quickly after they had documented evidence that she had been falsifying financial information on official documents. The woman who believed she could systematically destroy my life because I refused to bankroll her lifestyle indefinitely had just lost everything that mattered to her. The following week was absolutely wild, watching Madison's entire carefully constructed world collapse in real time. She was escorted out of the building by sheriff's deputies with only a few hurriedly packed suitcases and boxes of belongings, according to security footage from the building. Her credit card fraud investigations revealed much more than I had anticipated. She had been using entirely false pay stubs and employment verification documents to obtain higher credit limits for more than 2 years, which is considered serious felony fraud in our state. And several banks are actively pursuing criminal prosecution. The true satisfaction, however, comes when Emma's PhD advisor formally complains to the university administration about Madison's attempts to interfere with her academic standing. It turns out that trying to harm a graduate student's academic standing by fabricating reports and character assassination is a serious form of academic harassment that carries serious legal ramifications. The university filed a formal complaint with local law enforcement, and Madison is now potentially facing criminal charges for academic interference, fraud, and harassment. Word has spread incredibly quickly throughout their entire old social circle, according to my friend Jake from high school. And people are coming forward sharing their own stories about Madison's manipulative behavior dating back years. Meanwhile, she has been desperately cycling through various friends' couches and rapidly burning through relationships as people figure out what she's really like. Yesterday morning, her arrest record and mugshot appeared in local online databases. Almost half of our mutual friends had similar stories about Madison's manipulative, entitled behavior over the years. And the most satisfying part was that someone found those old social media posts I mentioned and shared them publicly across multiple platforms. The screenshots showed Madison as a teenager boasting about psychological torture, calling classmates scholarship trash, and organizing systematic campaigns to exclude and humiliate other girls. As for Madison's job prospects, I heard through professional networks that she's applied for positions at several companies in our area. Emma is doing absolutely fantastic, by the way. Her advisor was so impressed by how professionally she handled the harassment situation that she's being considered for additional prestigious fellowship opportunities. Sometimes the best revenge really is just living well and succeeding despite others' attempts to tear you down. She doesn't understand that our industry has unofficial channels of communication where information about troublesome people spreads quickly. 3 months after Madison's life completely fell apart. I thought this story was finally over. I had moved on, Emma was doing well, and Madison had completely vanished from our lives. But yesterday, everything came full circle in the most satisfying way possible. At around 8 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number, and Madison's voice on the other end was completely different from anything I had ever heard before. Scared, desperate, and broken. Please, I really need to talk to you. It turns out that the criminal charges are going exactly as planned, with prosecutors aggressively pushing for significant jail time in her fraud case. And the university harassment charges were upgraded when investigators discovered evidence she had done similar things to other students at her previous schools. I'm in serious trouble, and you're honestly the only person who might understand. She's been living with her elderly aunt since her parents totally disowned her, working part-time at a retail store for $12 an hour, without a car, an apartment, or any chance for advancement. And her former social circle won't associate with her after the high school post went viral and permanently damaged her reputation. She faces the possibility of prison time and severe financial penalties that will take decades to pay off. Her words, "I can make this right with Emma. I'll apologize properly. Do whatever you want me to do. Just please help me somehow." I nearly hung up, but she persisted, saying, "I know you probably hate me, but you're the only one who might understand what I'm going through. I made some mistakes, but I don't deserve to have my entire life destroyed over this. You have professional connections, so you could offer a helpful word somewhere." For the first time since I'd known Madison, she sounded truly humbled and broken, as if she had finally been forced to face reality without any safety nets or people to manipulate. A part of me briefly felt sympathy, but then I remembered Emma crying in that bathroom 3 months ago, the years of therapy my sister required, the phony LinkedIn profiles, and the systematic harassment campaign intended to ruin our reputations. I'll pay you back everything I owe you. I swear. Madison, you had literally months to apologize to Emma after our breakup, multiple opportunities to show some basic human decency, and multiple opportunities to walk away quietly with some dignity intact. Instead, you tried to ruin my professional reputation because I wouldn't continue funding your lifestyle. This is exactly what I told her, word for word, because I'd been thinking about this conversation for months. However, I've learned my lesson. She began to cry, real tears this time, not the stage performance I'd seen so many times before, her makeup running, her voice cracking. "I'm not that person anymore. I understand how wrong I was." She said the words, "You're not that person because that person lost everything and has no power left. The moment you had any influence or resources again, you'd go right back to who you really are underneath." The desperation was genuine, but so was everything she'd done to my family. So I told her this. "I'll sign a legal contract. I'll pay you back with interest over time. I'll go to therapy. I'll volunteer somewhere. I'll publicly apologize to Emma and everyone else I hurt. I'll prove I've changed. I'm living in my aunt's basement. I can't even afford a car, please." The main difference between you and Emma is that, despite everything you did to break her down, you spent 2 weeks losing a lifestyle you never truly earned through your own efforts, and you're falling apart. Emma spent 2 years in high school having her life systematically destroyed by you. She endured psychological torture that took years of therapy to overcome. She rebuilt herself from nothing at all, earned a full scholarship through pure merit, and created something meaningful with her life. I'm not going to save you from the consequences you created through your own choices, but I'll make you one deal. Get your life together entirely on your own. No family money, no rich boyfriends to take advantage of. She used the pain to fuel her success. When life knocked you down, you just looked for someone else to blame and save you. That's exactly why she's succeeding while you're facing criminal charges. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. Emma asked me later if I thought my response was too harsh, and I told her that some people only learn when they hit rock bottom hard enough that all their safety nets and manipulation tactics stop working entirely. No shortcuts or manipulation. Learn what it means to struggle and earn something. If you've truly changed and want to apologize to Emma in 5 years, I'll consider listening. Until then, lose this number permanently and never contact my family again.